Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the show. I got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 54th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. Before we get into the Super Bowl, we've got a couple other topics we're going to get into. I'm going to start this off with NBA basketball real quick. First thing we're about to get into is this LeBron Charles Barkley beef. That's been going on in the news lately. LeBron, he's pretty mad at Barkley about some comments that he's said about its topic that we talked about last week about LeBron feeling disappointed in his team with just the roster so far. Barkley was stated that, quite frankly, LeBron felt whiny and was just overall just disappointed with how LeBron just approached the whole idea about his team's roster. So just how do you guys feel about this kind of beat that they have right now, and who are you siding with?
Basically feel like both of them, they have points, but also both of them can chill out, shut up. Chuck comes at it a little bit seeming like the crotchety old man. I mean, I know some of you don't want this out in the media that you have a star player saying we don't have enough and this, that, and the other. But there's some sour grapes coming from this is a star player trying to get another championship. Shaq kind of hit him with the low blow when he was talking about all of this, saying you don't know what it's like to try to go back to back for a championship, seeing as Chuck never won one. So, I mean, he has some valid points. Like I said, you don't want this kind of stuff coming out of the locker room. You want this kept in house. The stuff LeBron's talking about, but on LeBron's side, he's not wrong. He sees what his competition is in the West. You have Golden State running away with things. You have San Antonio still looking formidable, and you have Cleveland with a couple game lead over Toronto. He knows that basically if one of the big three goes out for any amount of time, it's going to be probably detrimental to him. He's looking to get a serviceable backup point guard. Some would say just a point guard that will facilitate, so he doesn't have to do as much of that because, as good as Kyrie is, he's not a facilitating point guard. He takes up that spot on the court, but you can't depend on him to run an offense like that. So both have points. Both need to tone it down. Like Chuck's being kind of hard on him, but LeBron really didn't need to go as personal as he did. Like I get he's probably frustrated because he's the most critiqued athlete on the planet probably, but most of where he went was a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, I'll agree, and I guess keep it short because you hit on basically the majority of even what I would have said. But, when LeBron answers with things like, I never spat on somebody, basically looking up things on Charles Barkley to attack him as a person, attack his character. It was kind of like they were both stooping to low levels. Charles Barkley's comments were probably a little more generalized. LeBron got a little specific on him. Mm-hmm. But they were both attacks of character. And really there's no place for that on either side. I understand that, Barkley's just doing his job, giving his opinion. I think LeBron could take a step back and realize, hey, they're just, it's just him voicing an opinion, realizing their words, but, he's frustrated. He's frustrated with the way Cleveland's playing. When you see that for the month of January, the Sixers had a better record than the Cavaliers, things will get a little dicey. But no matter how frustrated LeBron gets, he should realize people love to scrutinize him, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with both of you guys on this. One part where I definitely agree with Charles Barkley was just the fact that, LeBron, he is the reigning champ right now. He beat Golden State last year, so I was kind of like, to me it sounded like he was a little bit too worried in a way, talking about the rosters on his team and so forth. And I think in a way, that's kind of throwing a little shade at his teammates as well. Like, hey, LeBron, like, you don't think that we're good enough to win a championship again and whatnot. But, I could definitely see where Charles Barkley went through there, what he was saying. But, like I said, with LeBron too, if he feels that he needs a piece to help him win again, then hey, go for it. But, I do believe he should have went to the GM and whatnot to help settle that issue instead of going public with that. Because, like I said, I think that would have caused a little bit of tension in the locker room with his fellow teammates. So I can definitely agree with both of you guys right there with what you said. Now, anything else to add to this before we go to NCAA?
No, we'll see if it escalates. I don't think Chuck will keep it going. I think he's gotten a little too old for these type of deals, but
yeah.
We'll see if the rivalry grows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, I think we all can agree we'd rather see what LeBron has to do on the floor than what he has to say off of it. So
exactly.
if he wants to win a championship, he can't let stuff like this bother him. I mean, he takes that lead from social media every year once the playoffs hit. Wouldn't be surprised if we see that a little early this year.
Yeah. All right, now we're about to get into NCAA basketball. We're about to pass this right to Darnell with his thoughts on the squad, the Michigan State Spartans. How do you feel about this team this year, man?
Well, I mean, it's been a rocky road. It's kind of new, a new type of team for Coach Izzo. It's the youngest team he's ever had as far as the talent goes. Right now he's just broke down. He's playing his 4 freshmen the most minutes per game, and they're growing up fast. They're starting to show growth, but it was a bit of a roller coaster to get here. Front loaded, heavy, hard hitting schedule like he usually sets up. It was kind of the toughness of the schedule was added to by all the traveling they did, going to Hawaii and New York and playing in the Carrier Classic, all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot for a freshman team to adjust to. So now they're at a point now where basically every win is crucial because they didn't pick up any in those first couple weeks when they played those marquee games. Probably the best 2 wins on their schedule right now are Northwestern and Minnesota. So, there's good signs showing up now. Nick Ward's become a staple. Bridges is looking like the NBA talent everybody thought he would be. Cassius Winston is showing he's going to be a very good point guard. He's even stealing minutes from Lou Rawls-Nairn, their senior leader point guard, especially when points are needed. So, it's been a tough go, but the growth is showing. Looks like they still might be able to sneak into the tourney, but they're going to have to work for it.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, just how do you feel about this young team's ceiling? Right now, you're not pleased with the record and whatnot, but say, you say you got 4 freshmen, just looking down the road, in the future, like, say, junior year, do you think this team can really do damage when it comes to March Madness, or you think he needs to just worry about some better pieces that's coming in next year to kind of take
They'll be very good by year 3, depending on who all stays.
Yeah.
It's looking like there's a chance Miles Bridges might stay for next year. I still doubt it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
But if he happens to do that, I think next year should be one where they're looking at a deep run in the tourney.
Okay.
Just based off of his talent alone. I mean, the games he's had, and he's starting to show range in his jump shot, post play. He's a very diverse and explosive player, and with the growth you've gotten from Winston, like I said, Langford, he still needs to figure himself out a little bit. He's a little bit more up and down, and then the surprise of Nick Ward, who's basically playing out of position right now. If Bridges stays and they get back some height next year, where we can shift Ward down to play the 4 and put Bridges at the 3, I think they'll be nasty come next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick here. Like, with things seem to be heading in the right direction. I think there's no denying that. Picked up a nice win against Michigan last week. Beat Nebraska. Things just seem to be trending in the right direction. They're making better defensive stances during longer stretches of the game than they were earlier in the year. And I think a lot of that has to come from Miles Bridges stepping it up big time offensively. But I still think the story of that team is kind of Nick Ward. As much as we love to talk about Miles Bridges, like, Nick Ward was the guy you talked about the least in the recruiting class, but the one you're basically, before Miles Bridges started stepping it up in the last week and a half or 2 weeks, Nick Ward was one you were talking about the most and seeing the most progression from. What would you say he has added to the team, not necessarily from the standpoint of, drawing fouls and points where, that's his key role, but do you think he's been able to open up Bridges, especially what seems to be in this last week?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he takes away the chance of doubling one player on their offense. Knowing that you have 2 players that are capable of getting you 20 based on the matchup, makes them a lot tougher to defend if you have both of those players at 100% on the court.
Yeah, and then also, let's assume this team makes the tournament. They pull off an upset on somebody later in the year, or they win out. But let's go ahead and just assume that they get into the tournament. Do you think that there'd be a potential of seeing Cassius Winston replace Tum Nairn in the starting lineup? Because Nairn, a better defensive player, a total liability on offense, and from what I see, despite a small setback on the defensive side for Winston, I personally think he's just a better basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, based on Winston's efficiency numbers, like, I think he leads the country in assists per 40 minutes. When you calculate full game time in, and the offense just seems to run a little bit better when he's in, because he's actually a scoring threat. So they're not sagging off the 3-point line, on your point guard. You actually have to guard him. It just makes him a more, he adds more to the offense than he takes away from losing Nairn on the defensive end. You would definitely like to see Winston get a little bit bigger and stronger, which is usually what you would like in a sophomore year for a freshman like that. Usually they're going to be able to, you can muscle them if they're taking on an upperclassman. But yeah, I think he's already starting to show that he brings a little bit more to the team than Nairn. There was still that leadership, mental edge basically that Nairn had earlier in the year, where if a game got a little bit tight or pressure filled, it sometimes you could see it be a little bit too much for Winston. He would try to do too much. So you would have to put Nairn in there just to calm things down. But you can see the maturation starting to happen, where you can see that this is going to be Winston's team as far as on the court leadership and running the offense for Izzo. That's going to be his next floor general. You can see it already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know watching him play, for me, I understand you don't want to bench, Tum Tum or any of that, in terms of the chemistry that this team has going. But seeing this team struggle at times and even struggle during stretches of games, even that they've won, I always wonder, Cassius Winston has to be getting a few more minutes, in spots where, they'll go 4 straight possessions without a score. And personally for me, I would actually like to see Cassius Winston in that starting lineup. I think it would set a better offensive pace from the start. Because sometimes I feel like the stage gets off to a slow start, and it might take them 6 or 7 minutes to really get rolling. And I know later in the season when it's win or go home, you can't afford that. So
later in the year that might start to happen, but I think some of it's just Izzo. He wants a little bit of an offensive punch when he has to put in a second unit, especially because Matt McQuaid was struggling shooting for the first quarter of the year, so you couldn't expect that from him. Alvin Ellis, you're not sure what you're going to get from him every night, so I think he just wanted a consistent player that he can bring off the bench and will knock down open shots. So I think that's why he's still comfortable starting Tum Tum and bringing Winston in a little bit later.
Now, right now, just based upon conference play and everything, which conference do you guys think is the best right now in NCAA?
That's a tough one. A lot of that can boil down toward opinion. But in my eyes, I'd have to go with the ACC. They just have a slew of ranked teams. And then when you're top heavy with the Dukes, the North Carolinas, it's tough to match up with that. NC State's having a nice year. Florida State, despite losing a couple times recently, is still having a nice year. Miami, Florida's picked up some nice wins. Just top to bottom, the ACC always tends to run deep. And that's just a reputation that they have. And it's just another year for them in that regard. So I wouldn't be surprised, if they get the most teams in the tournament again. They're usually 1 or 2 in getting the most teams in the tournament. So, I'll roll with the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good choice. I wouldn't count the Pac-12 out either, though. I mean, Arizona, UCLA, those are some very good teams there, but also just another one that's a little bit, I mean, basically every conference right now is super top-heavy, and you don't know what you're getting once you go down the line. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say an absolute best conference, but I think those are your 2 front runners there.
Okay. Now, which player in the NCAA is the most NBA ready right now? And also, who do you think has the most potential to be the best in the NBA?
Personally, I've talked him up all year. I really like Lonzo Ball. I think in terms of being a point guard, he'll have a learning curve getting to the NBA as most point guards do. But, I think, his body's there. He'll be a bigger guard, which a lot of teams like to have. I think his game is there. Like I said, the learning curve will still happen just because it's the NBA. Game's a little faster, guys are a little stronger, but so he'll have to develop into that. But I think his game is pretty ready for the NBA.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. He's especially of the youngsters in college right now, the lower classmen, he's probably the one that's most equipped to come in and immediately start contributing. He plays smart. He's big for his position. You'll be able to throw him in there, and he just seems to pick up the game pretty quickly.
Now, for that is that also your guys who you think has the highest ceiling as well, or?
If I had to pick someone for a high ceiling, I think you could go with one of the Kentucky guards, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk.
Okay.
Both of those guys could really light it up any night. But like I said, the transition to the NBA is just so tough. You could even throw Bam Adebayo in there from Kentucky. Lonzo Ball, I would still agree, has a high ceiling. And that's the hard part. The NBA draft is based on your ceiling.
Yeah.
So you're looking at all these guys getting taken in the lottery because they feel, all right, we think your ceiling is extremely high.
Yeah.
So, and that also leads to the low floors. I mean, how many guys get picked in the lottery that, don't, have a secured position in 3 seasons after their rookie contract runs out?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where the ceilings are high for all these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as ceiling goes, I like Monk from Kentucky. I think there's a lot of potential there, and I got to jump over to somebody who had a slow start, but is starting to show why he was the number 1 overall recruit. But Josh Jackson,
oh yeah,
he seems to be picking things up very well now, and he's got just a smooth, effortless game where you can see his ceiling is up there as far as NBA potential.
All right. Now, are there any, with March Madness slowly approaching, are there any sleeper teams that you guys can think can make a big impact when the tournament hits?
There's always a few. I think a team that could catch some people off guard is going to be like a Butler. They play tough. They beat Villanova when they were ranked number 1 this year. NC State, if they get in, they can make some noise. They're an explosive team. They have a win at Duke this year. There's always a few teams you can look at and say they have potential to, win a few rounds, but I don't really know if there's going to be many sleeper teams to make a deep run. The Cinderella story is always, a team nobody tends to think of. You think of George Mason, Butler before they were on the map. Last year, what was it? Austin F. Texas or Stephen F. Austin or whatever that school was. They won a few rounds. Like, I don't even remember the Stephen A. Austin. I don't know. It shows how much I care. But, it's never a team you expect that ends up making it pretty far. But if I had to go with a safe pick that I think could make some noise, it would be a Butler or an NC State.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pick one this year because I think this will be one of the deeper tournaments we've seen where, like, going down to, like, you can go into 3 seeds where they have a really good shot at going to the Final Four, I think. I guess one that I would say to look out for would probably be Virginia, seeing as they're usually really stout on defense, but they've been getting a little bit of an offensive punch lately, which is scary for a team like that that can pressure you and keep you from scoring. This might be a year for them to make a deep run.
All right, guys. Now, is there anything else you would like to add for NCAA basketball before we move on?
Coach,
it's getting close to that time.
Also, Coach K comes back on Saturday. I think it'll be interesting to see if Duke makes a turn. They kind of been slumping a little bit lately. His absence on the bench is pretty big, so it'd be interesting to see if they get back to some winning ways and being dominant.
Yeah. All righty. Next, we're about to get right into the Super Bowl. Just what are you guys' thoughts on this Atlanta versus the Pats, the matchup?
We got a mainstay as far as the Patriots and the new guys on the block, I guess to say, as far as the Falcons go. It's been at least from my point of view. Just historically, they're not a team you can trust to go far in the playoffs. They have made it to a Super Bowl in my lifetime, but they blew it. Had issues going on. Had somebody get busted for prostitution the night before, so just like blew it in an Atlanta way. So I mean, this seems to be a little bit of a different team, though. They have an offense where I'm just not sure anybody can stop them or take away from something that they do best because they have so many weapons.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for an exciting game here since, this playoffs has not been exciting at all.
Yeah.
But this is one where if the Patriots are going to win, they're going to have to put up a lot of points, I think. I think they're going to have to win in a shootout, and I'm not sure if that's possible.
Yeah.
See, I would tend to just disagree with that last statement, only because I think New England runs good enough schemes on defense to where I don't think it'll be a shootout. I think it'll, the winner will have to put up numbers in the 30s, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily a shootout. Like, I think we could see a, 27-31 game, 31-28, something like that, last second field goal or whatever. But I think what you have right is I don't know if Malcolm Butler is going to be able to shut down Julio Jones single-handedly. I think that you're going to see a lot of double coverage. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they try and run Julio Jones on short routes and try and hit Taylor Gabriel deep, or if they try and just force feed Julio Jones. I think you can force feed Julio Jones. I think that'll still be an effective strategy. It's worked all year. But I don't necessarily know that New England will have to be in a shootout. I mean, you look at Antonio Brown. He was pretty quiet against New England, where he's usually loud against everybody. So New England knows how to stop key players. They've done it before. I do think
they did stop Antonio Brown, but I mean Le'Veon Bell was off the field most of that game too. They were able to just key in on one person.
No, you're right. But I was going to say, but Julio Jones will still get his. I wouldn't be surprised if he catches for anywhere between 80 and 100 yards in a score. But I do think that New England's defense is going to be good enough to where they'll be able to get off the field on some big third downs. I don't think they're going to be giving up a ton of huge plays. I think they're going to have to. One thing they will have to do is they're going to have to force Atlanta to, kind of dump and chunk at times. Really force them to go for the short plays and take away the long ball. I think that would make Atlanta the most uncomfortable. Because if you allow Atlanta to, get 20, anywhere from 15 to 25 yards per play, that's where they like to play. So, I think New England's defense knows what they're going to be doing. I just don't think that they're going to allow, for Atlanta to roll on them like the Packers did.
Now, Darnell, he kind of touched on it a little bit. I was going to ask you guys, with Atlanta, this is a team that have had times where they've played great in the regular season, but when the playoff started to come, they fell short and would get eliminated first round and so forth. Do you guys feel as if this is probably too big of a stage for them at all? Just due with their kind of inconsistencies in the playoffs? Especially playing against a team like the Patriots that, always could favorite to make it to the Super Bowl, it seems like every year.
I don't think so. Just honestly, they have a pretty mature team, at least on offense, which is, I would rather have my youth on defense where pretty much the game plan is go out there and hit somebody or and just try to make plays, take your chances, but on the offensive side of the ball, where you want them to be pinpoint precise and everything, I think that's where they have the experience and leadership, which is a good thing. They have a veteran quarterback who's spent years in that system. He has a very good relationship with his number one receiver, who is, depending on who you talk to, somewhere between the number 1 and 3 best receiver in football. And you have a good O-line and 2 very, very good running backs. I think they just have too many things they can rely on to fix any other issues that may be going on offense. And their defense seems to be clicking at the right time. I didn't think they had that great of a defense, but, through this little end of the season on to the playoffs, they seem to be getting better, getting pressure on quarterbacks, and just making life hell for other offenses. So, based on how they've been playing, I'm not sure if the moment will be too big for them. I think they might have that right little mix of things going.
All right.
Yeah, I still think it's going to take time for each team to get into a little bit of a rhythm. It's uncharted territory for most of the players on Atlanta. Tom Brady's been here before, so he'll be collected, ready to go. It's just going to be, will everybody else be on that same page as well? I do agree with Darnell. I think that Atlanta's a very mature team. You don't see them, being very, vocal, talking about the Patriots. You don't see them taking jabs at anybody. You can tell they're focused, based on, comments you hear from either Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, coaching staff. Everybody seems very focused. And I think that will pay dividends for Atlanta. I don't think they're going to come out and just get torn apart by New England. I do think that they're going to be able to hold their own. But I do think at the end of the day, when you have experience on your side, it's going to pay dividends. Belichick's been here plenty of times. Brady's been here plenty of times. And you know that they're not just going to lay down and say, Atlanta, we'll give you one here. So but I think Atlanta's going to come ready. I think they're going to come hungry. I think they're going to try and attack from the start. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the first play is a pass from Matt Ryan. But I do expect, really both teams to be focused and ready to go.
All right, now the ticket prices are lower than usual, just for the Super Bowl. Having certain reasons like this. How excited are you to see this game? Just based upon people, the ticket prices being lower and everything. Is this game really that exciting?
I mean, it's the Super Bowl, so there's always going to be some level of excitement there. But yeah, I don't know why ticket prices would be lower. I can only speak for myself personally. I'm tired of seeing the Patriots every year in the Super Bowl. It's become an old hat, especially when they're coming in with a favorite team. I do think Atlanta, they have the talent to beat them. Yeah. But it's when you see the Patriots in the Super Bowl, it's just like, oh boy, so looks like another ring is coming. Yeah. Is just that feeling that comes. So I don't know. I mean, it might just be a trend just from how the season went. Beginning of the season, all the talk was how the television ratings were dropping for the NFL. Yeah. I don't know if maybe just at least pro football has peaked a little bit, and it doesn't have that grasp of America like it used to.
Yeah. I think that would be the majority consensus, that people are just tired of seeing the Patriots. I know a lot of people will watch this game to cheer against the Patriots, not necessarily for Atlanta. And I think that, like you said, football may have already hit its peak. I wouldn't disagree. We see a lot of the same storylines year in and year out. Granted, I don't know. Well, for one, it's the Super Bowl, so people are already going to be intrigued from there. But I don't necessarily know how prime of a destination Houston is. I've never been there. I know people say they like the area, but it's not like crazy exciting of an area.
Yeah.
So I wonder, if it's because it's not that great of a destination. Like if it were in Miami, I'm sure people would be all over it. In LA, places like that. But, I think it doesn't have much to do with it being, football dying out. I think people will always watch football. People will always want to go to the Super Bowl. So it could just be, coincidental that it's a down year for ticket prices. I don't think I would read too much into it.
All right. Now, what are the keys to victory for both squads in order to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, I think is whoever's defense can do best against the other team's offense, I think is basically going to be the key for each. For Atlanta, it's going to be get a pass rush, get Brady's clock to speed up, and make him get rid of the ball faster than he wants to. He seemed to have all day to throw against Pittsburgh, so they can't allow that to happen, or else they'll get carved up, and it'll put more pressure on what is a high-powered offense. But if you don't have to pressure them to have to score every drive, probably it's going to be better. And that goes to Atlanta's offense. Then it's going to be just try to do what they've been doing all year, and that's pedal to the metal and pour on the points where they can get them. Use those four weapons of their two hot shot receivers and two really good backs with Coleman and Freeman. Mix it up and do what they need to do to move the ball. For New England is what they do every week, it seems like, and that's morph into a different team or whatever kind of team they need to be to solve the Rubik's Cube of the team that they're facing. I'm pretty sure they'll have a good defensive scheme planned. They'll probably slow Atlanta a little bit. Like I said, I don't think anybody can stop that offense. But I think this is where New England's offensive coordinators will make their money. Like I said, I think more of this will be one of those Super Bowls that falls more on Brady if they win this game. I think he's going to have a really good performance and get up there around that 300-yard mark and 2 or 3 touchdowns on the board for him.
Yeah, I think for New England, I think you hit that spot on. It's going to be, just having the offense flow, keeping Brady comfortable, really having that offensive line do work, protect Brady. I think also it's just going to be slowing down that Atlanta offense, forcing them to, maybe take some shorter passes than they want. Get some 3 and outs. If they can get a 3 and out on the first drive, I think that's going to set momentum for that New England defense, and it could turn into a good night for them if they get their way early. Maybe force a turnover, but I think for Atlanta, it's going to be hit a couple long, big passes. Matt Ryan's really good at that. They're playing in a dome. That should benefit Matt Ryan. If it were outside, I'd say that totally benefits Tom Brady. Granted, it doesn't really matter where Tom Brady plays, but I think being in a dome benefits Matt Ryan more than it benefits Tom Brady. I think that defense needs to constantly be pressuring Tom Brady. Like you said, having him get rid of the ball, a lot of short passes. They can't afford for Chris Hogan to do what he did against Pittsburgh. Julian Edelman's going to get his 10 or 12 catches, 100 yards. But you just can't let other receivers on this team going off the wall against you. But that's what the Patriots love to do. That's what Tom Brady is known for doing, is making everybody around him look like they're a Pro Bowler. So one more thing that I think New England's going to need to do is really figure out what running back's going to do it for them. Is it going to be, Deion Lewis, James White, LeGarrette Blount? Are they going to be running it up the middle? Are they going to be throwing swing passes? They're going to need one running back to do something good for them all game long. Someone they can just give it to and get 6 or 7 yards. Like I said, either through pass or a run, but one of the running backs is really going to have to come up big for them, and I think one of them will. Always seems to.
All right. Just to let everybody know, if they somehow don't know, kickoff is 6:30 p.m. Sunday. The line is the Patriots. They have the lead with -3 and over-unders 58. Who do you guys have winning?
I'm going to go with the Patriots. They were my pick.
All right.
Well, neither of my picks are in there, so I'm just going to go with who I want to win. Like I said, I'm tired of seeing the Patriots, so I'm going with the underdog. Let's see if the Dirty Birds can finally make do.
All right, I'm going with Atlanta as well. I'm a huge fan of Julio Jones. I just want to see him get a championship, man. I don't know. I got a reason just somehow, man. I got a feeling, man, Brady's going to miss Gronk this game. I think Gronk would have helped him with some bail him out of some certain situations, which I think the Pats would need. But he's been playing pretty well without him, so he can definitely he's been balling this year without Gronk. But this thing is going to be at certain times in this game where he's going to wish that he's had him. I think that Atlanta's D is a lot of people been overlooking them a little bit, but they've been stepping up in the playoffs. So going with Atlanta, guys.
So you're going against the team you picked from the start.
Yeah, I'm going for it, man. Yeah, it's I had a change of heart, man. So yeah, I want to see Atlanta get it, man. I think this will be their last chance. I don't really see them could possibly be getting in there anytime soon. Whereas the Pats, it's kind of like, they can, it seems like every year they're going to be in the Super Bowl, but Atlanta, I think if anything, their time is now to win it. I don't really see any other doors being open for them to go into the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I did. So.
Random question. You brought up Gronk.
Yeah.
If the Patriots do win this, and we all know the Patriots are basically outside of probably Brady, anybody is expendable. Do you think that might be the end of Gronk there?
Oh. I'm going to say no. Mainly because I only think it would be that much easier with him. I do see where you're coming from. I mean, you have Jimmy Graham come off an injury. The Saints get rid of him. It's not like they're doing any better or worse without him. But I think they'll keep him around as long as he wants to be there. He fits what they do. He's a part of what they do. He's the number one pass catcher there. I don't know that it would be the end of him there in terms of the Patriots don't feel like they need him. If he leaves and it's his own decision, then so be it. But I don't think it's going to be the Patriots saying we don't want him.
Yeah, I think they will keep him, man. Gronk, he's a beast. I just think the Patriots, I think they would keep a guy like him. Yeah, I just think they would, like, if they had to choose between kind of like him and Brady, especially with just how their quarterbacks have stepped up with Brady. missing out those 4 games. I think they need Gronk more kind of in a way than Brady. Brady's, I don't know, I think he's just kind of been stepping up with just the whole Belichick system in a way. So I just think they would be kind of foolish to get rid of Gronk in a way.
Yeah, I'm not saying it would be the smartest decision, and like you said, it would make it easier for the next year. But I mean, they win that Super Bowl, and just how that team runs everything.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody comes to them and says, "I'll give you this year and next year's, this year's first rounder, next year's third for Gronk." I think the Patriots might go, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
It would definitely have to be a sweet enough deal.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else to add for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I guess then this would be my question. If Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl, gives him a 5th ring, does it make him the greatest quarterback of all time? And you can even say, no, I believe he cheats. That isn't acceptable.
No, I believe he cheats.
And I guess the reason I say that is, I mean,
that
would give him more rings than any other quarterback.
Yeah. True, this is, in sports, people care about the ring. So definitely, if somebody was to say Brady, I definitely wouldn't, argue with them a lot. But a thing too, that, I was going to get into you guys next week if they would have won is, how, it's going to particularly be about Belichick, is how, like, with the, Spygate, the Deflategate and all the scandals that they've had going on, how much does that impact them as well? So, it's, I wouldn't be mad at somebody if they were to say that, but, as well, kind of like looking at, kind of the scandals that follow the Patriots as well, it's kind of like, how would you hold that against them as well? So, but I like Brady. Don't get me wrong. Definitely would not be mad if the Patriots win, but, definitely, man. It's just, that's a tough one. For sure. How do you feel, Darnell?
I mean, I'm pretty much on those same lines. If somebody says it, I'm not going to say you're absolutely wrong. Yeah. Brady's he's a good quarterback. I would never say he's terrible. He's only a system quarterback. I think he'd be a good quarterback if you put him anywhere. He's in a perfect situation.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah, I do think the Patriots are a bit of a shady organization on the field. They'll take whatever avenue they can to get an edge and get a victory. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's other teams that'll do the same thing, but they've been caught more than anybody, at least that I can recall.
Yeah.
And he's the face of that organization. So I mean, probably with me, I still would probably throw Montana up there because he's undefeated in that big game.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I guess, basically like how that trump card goes for Jordan versus most people when you start talking about who's the greatest ever. Like I guess I go with the guy that has a 0 on the loss column in the biggest game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and only because I had that conversation with somebody earlier this week. A lot of people, raise that 6-0 argument for Jordan, and then the LeBron lovers respond with, yeah, well, look at how many in a row that LeBron's been to. And I can say, well, I don't know that I'll see anybody else in my lifetime even make it to 6 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, now 7. This is the 7th. So, I would personally, I like Tom Brady. I like the Patriots. I mean, I'll say it. I don't care what allegations have come up on him. Do I think that they're, justifiable and everything for all the punishments that came down? Yeah, sure. But they took the punishment, moved on, and still won games. So, at the end of the day, I think Tom Brady, at least to this point, is the best quarterback I've seen in my lifetime for sure. No doubt. So I'll stick with yes, it would move him into the GOAT category.
Alrighty. Nothing wrong with that, man. Like I say, with the rings and everything, It's a well-accomplished player, but a lot of people, they could say, hey, what about Spygate? What about Deflategate? And all this other stuff. So it's, like I said, I wouldn't be disappointed if somebody was to say that to me or be mad at them or anything like that, just there's some stuff they would throw back at it, but, I don't mind Brady at all. All right, guys, anything else to add?
No. Be safe at them Super Bowl parties, people.
Yeah. All right, just to kind of end the show, Darnell was kind of touching on about it, just with the whole NFL playoffs, about them not being entertaining. You just want to know, how do you guys just feel about sports? Particularly we cover a lot of NFL, NBA. Do you guys feel that sports are watered down nowadays? Because just looking at the playoffs, the NFL playoffs, when we covered the NBA playoffs, there wasn't really a lot of exciting games that happened in the playoffs. And this, too, in the NBA, there's not really a lot of just great teams in there. It's 4 or 5 teams in the NBA that you can say, okay, yeah, they got a shot at winning a championship or, doing something. So just how do you guys just feel about sports overall nowadays?
I think I'm fine overall with sports. This season's been pretty bad as far as the NFL goes. Pretty much all but maybe 2 of them, pretty much every Thursday night game this year was just terrible football. The playoffs outside of 1 game so far was terrible football. And as far as the NBA goes, I think most people are to the point where they feel like the regular season can be shortened. But if you go back to the playoffs last year for the NBA, it was fun. They, especially once we got into the conference finals and semifinals on the West side, there were some good games and good series. And they weren't all blowouts on either side. You actually saw good games. And then when you look at the college ranks, you still have fun all around. We think about how many fun games we saw in college football this year.
Yeah.
And when it comes to March and college basketball, you see all kinds of close competitive games. So I think most of it falls on the NFL right now, which is usually the league of parity where anybody can win, and you have a lot of the margin of error between the championship team and the team that's picking number 1 usually doesn't seem like it's that far, but this year it just seemed to be, I guess, an anomaly there where just we got a lot of bad games. And like I said, maybe that was the cause of ratings starting to drop. Maybe it's people being wary of the concussion issues and everything. Maybe some players are starting to ease up a little bit because of that type of issue. But as far as overall, I would say sports are fine. I just feel like the NFL had a bad go at it this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I wonder how much of that just boils down to the NFL being so top heavy. I say it with the NBA, where you get, I think we see a more top heavy NBA, but this year just seeing that effect of the teams at the top just being that much better than everybody else in this particular year. I don't have a problem with it. It was just a very uneventful playoffs. I do think that next year will probably be better just based on the fact that it's a brand new year. I think that sports in general, at the collegiate level will constantly be competitive. I think that it's just the old saying of, well, those kids don't play for money, they play for pride. And, whether you think that's a bunch of crap or not, college athletics never fail in the competitiveness factor.
Yeah.
I mean, March Madness is always there. The college football final has been there really all, what was this, the fourth year, third year? Anyway, I mean, that's the competitiveness has been there in the title games. For me, it's just the idea that I think that just the teams at the top were just that good this year. And I don't know that it's, teams not being competitive. I mean, the regular season was actually decent. I mean, there were a couple divisions in the NFL where it came down to the final regular season week. You had the AFC, what was it, the AFC South and the NFC North both came down to the final week.
Yeah.
Wild card spots came down to the final week.
Yeah.
And the playoffs just had a bad shake of it. And it happens. Golden State will sweep two teams before they get to the conference finals this year. So, it's just the idea that it was the first one we'd gotten in a while in the NFL where there was really one or two games and that was it. So, hopefully the Super Bowl's better. I don't think that we need to read a lot into it. I think it was just the way the year fell.
Yeah.
And just be happy that March Madness will be here to save us before we know it.
All righty. All right. Nothing wrong with that, man. Just to ask you guys too, just kind of about, the NFL, kind of like what I thought about was, how do you think, rules, are just affecting, could be for NCAA football as well, with, stuff like targeting, they move the, field goal length longer and stuff. Like, what do you think about, do you think they're doing too much with the rules now, or you just think they should just keep it the same, or what?
I'm not sure if they're doing too much with the rules, but, football's just going in a way that's not going to be stopped. Player safety they're not going to stop caring about the players. It's only going to grow, especially with more and more former players passing away, and we find out that the stages of CTE that they were in, like we just found out that Mel Farr was in like stage 3 of it, from his recent passing. Former Lion, if people don't know who that is. So as far as like rule changes for safety and just a lot of the crazy hits that we had as early as like the early 2000s, just those are basically going to go away. Yeah. There's going to be targeting. People are going to have to go back to form tackling where you're wrapping people up. Probably after a while, even though players are figuring out how to lead with their shoulders instead of their heads, there's a chance that goes after a while. So as far as those type of rules go, that's going to keep happening. I'm waiting for the swing to happen where they start letting cornerbacks touch somebody again and, do a little bit to play some defense. I know over the last 10 years or so, they've tried to get more touchdowns scored or everything, but at some point that'll start to bore people where every game in the NFL is 45-45. I think we need to find a happy medium where defenders are allowed to play defense and without worry of a flag every single play.
Yeah, I'd agree there. As fans, we argue a lot about the reffing. And we ultimately need to just realize it's what they see at the time. They have real time to make a call, split seconds. Us fans get the benefit of instant replay. They don't get instant replay. They need to get off the field to see it.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. If the rules are for safety and it's proven to be needed, I'm all for it. I'm 100% for player safety. It keeps good players in the league longer. It keeps players safer. But the one thing I hope doesn't start to happen is we see these games start to turn into a circuit. I've seen people propose new 3-point lines for the NBA because Golden State's shooting the three at an unbelievable clip. Yeah. I've seen,
saying 4 points,
yeah, or whatever, moving the field goal back to make it a little tougher. That's fine. But it's not like teams started going for 2 constantly. I think Pittsburgh went for it the most, and they didn't even go for it every time. The thing is, I just don't want to see it turn into a circus, turn into almost like a game show of how crazy can we make it to try and either attract new viewers or make it harder. I think sports alone do a good job of bringing in the viewers.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see them make rule changes for entertainment. I want to see them make rule changes for safety, for the benefit of the game, not for viewers.
Yeah.
Because the people who want to watch are going to watch anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they are going to make rule changes for viewers. That's just, it's a television product.
No, it's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why we have teams scoring so much right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true.
All right, guys. Is there anything else you would just like to add overall, or no?
No. We got it.
All right. As always, guys, thank you all for tuning in to the show. You can check us out on Twitter at DKM_cast. You can also check out our podcasts on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn. Just hit us up in that search engine and we should pop up. You can also, I'll encourage you guys, if you're in the cars, check out my cousin's YouTube channel, the Black Scat Pack. But as always, guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Y'all take care and have a good one, and have fun at the Super Bowl parties or whatever that you're doing. But you're going to be drinking responsibly, and, just do your thing, guys. Peace out.